In 2108, Trump launched a trade war between China and the United States, and at the same time, the United States ruthlessly strangled Chinese technology companies. The United States used national power to crack down on China's private company Huawei, and included high-tech products such as chips in the ban list, and added a series of Chinese technology companies to the sanctions list. This wave of raids can be said to have surprised China. China and the United States have been doing business for decades and have long been each other's largest trading partners. Just because the Chinese government did not agree to Trump's boundless asking price, it suffered such humiliation. The United States not only used normal trade between the two countries as capital to threaten China, but also weaponized the US dollar. As long as it is a Chinese company or a company from other countries that it doesn't like, it is prohibited to use the US dollar for transactions. What's more serious is that the United States not only unilaterally sanctions China, but also requires its allies to follow the United States' footsteps and encircle China together. For example, Taiwan's TSMC cannot manufacture chips for Chinese companies such as Huawei, and ASML in the Netherlands cannot sell lithography machines to China. These actions caused Chinese companies such as Huawei to fall into shock, and Huawei quickly fell from the world's #1 mobile phone company. SMIC, which is developing rapidly in the field of advanced chip manufacturing, is also struggling because it cannot buy lithography machines. Therefore, TSMC's respected soul figure Morris Chang gave his own judgment. Globalization is dead, and TSMC must be prepared for anti-globalization. TSMC's current management team also adheres to this concept and keeps most of its chip manufacturing in Taiwan. However, is this really the case? Can the behavior of the United States, a country, and the process of globalization that has lasted for decades? My view is completely the opposite. Globalization will not stop, but globalization led by the United States has become a thing of the past. If the United States cannot change its arrogant foreign policy, it will be abandoned by the World Trade System, and the U.S. hegemony will end. During the Cold War, the United States and its Western allies had advantages in productivity and production efficiency. The United States raised its arms and praised globalization, and the whole world moved closer to the United States and abandoned the Soviet Union. However, when Japan surpassed the United States in market competitiveness, American congressmen began to perform. They burned Japanese cars, smashed Japanese TVs, and joined European countries to force Japan to sign the Plaza Accord. This move quickly resolved the crisis in the United States and led Japan into the lost 3 decades. They completely ignore the fact that Japan is a country militarily occupied by the United States and a loyal ally of the United States. Even Japan's political system was designed by the Americans. As long as Japan threatens the economic hegemony of the United States, it is a demon. Today's China, like Japan back then, has also grown rapidly into the world's factory through international trade. Chinese companies have surpassed the United States in production efficiency and product innovation, and they have also posed a threat to the United States in areas such as the Internet, big data, and AI, which are monopolized by Americans. So American politicians are playing the game of flipping the table again. When the rules are in their favor, they emphasize order. When the rules are not in their favor, they will become rogues again. Today, the United States is dealing with China in the same way as it dealt with Japan back then, and is also forcibly asking all allies to isolate China together. They thought that they could definitely defeat China quickly. However, this time, they miscalculated. China's economic scale, calculated in terms of purchasing power parity, has long surpassed that of the United States. And China's invisible economic scale is much larger than that of the United States. China is a country with a full industrial chain, and it can produce whatever it lacks. And compared with Japan, China has huge advantages in population size and territorial area. China's domestic consumer market is not smaller than that of the United States. Taking automobiles as an example, China sold 30 million cars in 2023, which is the sum of the United States, Europe, and Japan. China is also the world's largest mobile phone market and the largest computer market. China has the world's largest game company Tencent, the world's strongest communications equipment company Huawei, the world's largest drone company Dow Jones Indices, the world's largest electric car company BYD, and China also has popular overseas applications such as TikTok and Temu. China has a full ecological layout from hardware to software. Even if Chinese companies do not engage in foreign trade, they can still obtain a huge market and promote product research and development and iteration. Moreover, China has a strong military and is also a nuclear power with completely independent foreign policy, which is completely different from Japan back then. It can be said that the Americans are leading a bunch of villains to beat up China and will not let China surrender. While the arrogant Americans are attacking China, they are also taking action against Russia. The United States also supports Israel to expand the scale of the war in the Middle East, which makes it difficult for Arab countries and the Islamic world to agree. The United States does not attach importance to developing countries in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and other regions at all. Americans always write blank checks and blame China, while China builds roads, railways, ports, airports, bridges, and other infrastructure in these places to help them develop their economy. Today, the economy of southern countries is booming. They also have huge consumption capacity and market size, and they also need to develop technology. Therefore, if the United States wants to defeat China, it must come up with products that are more cost-effective than China and maintain its absolute lead over China in technology. Otherwise, these countries have no reason to reject China for the sake of American hegemony. After all, who doesn't want their country to achieve greater development? In fact, while the United States is busy dealing with China, it is also harvesting its allies through the hegemony of the US dollar. Most of the younger brothers who followed the United States to block China are not in a good economic situation now, such as Britain, France, Germany, South Korea, Japan, etc. The governments and people of these countries will soon find themselves cannon fodder, and it is meaningless to continue to insist. They will resume normal trade exchanges with China. In today's highly developed information, globalization has become a consensus, and there is no prospect for trade protectionism. As long as a country or region has good technology, good products, and good services, it will soon be used globally. This is not something the United States can stop, such as high-speed rail, photovoltaics, electric vehicles, and other industries. If the United States does not develop, other countries will develop. Americans can't just bury their heads in the sand like ostriches to solve the problem. Therefore, globalization is not dead. It is just globalization led by the United States, and the main hegemony system of the United States is disintegrating. We cannot think that the world will not be able to conduct international trade without the United States and its minions. If Americans withdraw from the international trade system, they will lose their own interests.